In today's video, I'm going to be giving you the final review of my Makita chop saw. I bought it a few months ago, but I wanted to make sure I use it for plenty of time before I give you a comprehensive review and let you know if you need this bit of kit in your arsenal. But before we get into the video, just remember, in March, our big announcement is coming. If you're looking to get into the trade, you want to change profession, you're an apprentice, you're a school leaver, any of those things, this is going to be of benefit to you. So keep watching and we will let you know what's coming. It's exciting, I'm excited, you should be too. Enjoy the video. So if you're an avid watcher of the channel, and obviously you are, you will know that I am an advocate of Makita. Before I continue though, I'd like to say that we are not sponsored by Makita for this. This is just something that I have bought because I like Makita tools myself. I've always used them and I believe I always will continue to do so. A few weeks ago, we showed you a video at our single story extension in which I bought this. This is the Makita chop saw, and I said before that I'd do a review, so let's get into it. So it's basically a sliding compound mitre saw, and it's got a 12-inch blade, 305mm blade on it. So it's a bit of a beast and I'm well looking forward to using this. So what I'm going to do, little unboxing, we'll have a look inside, see what it comes with, and basically I'm going to use it then for a month or so, and then I'm going to finish this video and give you a bit of a review on how well this performs. So let's open it up and see what's inside. Boom, look at that. Shiny. It's like Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, already I'm fighting with the packaging with it. Very nice. So straight out of the box, it comes with a 60 tooth blade, which is nice and sharp. It's digging into my hands already. That's good. It's always a good sign when it's sharp. It also comes with a little dust bag, a little triangle bit. I'm assuming that is to set it up and make sure that it's accurate. Probably, maybe.
You've got your preset positions, haven't you?
Yeah.
So now that'll be for your vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For alignment. So, right, let's get it put together and then we'll come back. First impressions, what I've noticed is that these rails are lubricated with wet grease, which obviously sawdust is just going to stick straight to that, so I'm not overly impressed with that. Should have probably used the dry grease on it because it's just going to get clogged up with dust straight away, so that's a little bit of a negative off the bat. Also the disc change, although you can get to the hex bolt there, you still need to take this plate off as well to move the whole thing out of the way so that you can actually get that bolt out fully. But they're the only negatives. Oh, actually, and this as well. So the electric brake seems quite slow, but as Pete's mentioned, there may be grease in the brake, maybe? Would they grease the brakes?
Well, from what I understand, they usually spray stuff like that with like Teflon grease or something like that. It's not actually to lubricate anything, it's to preserve it, so if the air gets to it, it don't corrode.
It doesn't corrode, so that could be. So we'll give it a little bit of time and see how that works out. Right, so things I like of this, enough negatives. I've got to start with the negatives and then we can just look at all the positives. It has got an extendable little base section here, which works really well, obviously to hold, give you a bit of extra support. It's also got this built-in clamp you can set on top of your workpiece to hold everything nicely in place for single-handed operation. We've also got, I do like that noise. I like the box. Joe likes the box. Big box. We've also got a 60-degree mitre on both sides, so turning around both ways. I obviously need to do a little bit of tinkering around with this first before I use it fully, but my first impressions are, I'm pretty impressed. I like it. Obviously there's a few negatives, but they may work themselves out once I get used to the saw a bit more. So yeah, I will check back in about a month and give you an update on how this machine has performed and if it's better than the Festal, in my personal opinion. Obviously Toby will say it's not, but we'll see. So the main features of this chop saw are that it has a 305mm disc, which Makita says is capable of a 98mm cut by 382mm cut at a 90-degree angle. To be honest, straight off the bat, I'm not sure where they've got that figure from, because the 382 is perfectly fine. However, I believe this cuts deeper than 98mm. I could be completely wrong, but I can use a 6-inch piece of skirting on end and cut that down, so that is well more than 98mm. But it's great. I'm not going to take anything away from it. It's better to cut more than less than the figures. It also has some fantastic range of motion. It goes all the way around to 60 degrees and 60 degrees that way on the Mitre angle, and also the bevel goes 48 degrees either way. It has 2 rails on the side here which allow the motor and the blade to slide backwards and forwards like so. So you can put this machine right up against the wall and it won't need any additional space to move backwards, which is a really good thing, I feel. The range of motion on the motor is really good. It's nice and easy to operate. You don't have to put anything in to push it down to release the guard. It's got a fantastic little laser on it as well, which you can move either side. One down point is on some, including the Festool that I used to use previously, the laser comes down on both sides of the blade, which is a bit more handy than this, I feel, because you have to manually move this laser over with a little button up here. It's not a massive issue, but depending on which side you're cutting, which side you're measuring, sometimes you're not always on that side of the blade when you're cutting. In the box is included 2 extended fences for the back to hold your workpiece against, a dust bag, a worktop clamp, and also a square for setting up the chop saw to make sure that the bevel and mitre angle is correct. Although the dust bag is a welcome addition to the chop saw, I do feel that its size is pretty limited because the amount of dust that this kicks out when it's cutting things, especially on a site environment when you're cutting a lot during first fix, it would fill up pretty quickly. So I would personally recommend attaching it to a dust extractor. The dust extractor on this is actually brilliant. You've got 2 sections in which the dust is extracted through. You've got this big area here, and you've also got a little extraction through the back here. So the dust gets vented from this point through to this pipe, and then from the back of the actual blade itself through this point, and then you can connect your dust extractor straight into the back here, so it easy sucks all the dust straight out. There's obviously a little bit of overspray, but the majority of it is taken out into your dust extractor, which is really good. Obviously, if you've got the dust bag on the back, it's only going to fix to one point and it's just going to fill up, and then that's it. So personally, I'd recommend using a dust extractor. If you don't use a dust extractor, which obviously I haven't done, but what does happen is these get clogged up pretty quickly because of the amount that gets kicked out. So always recommend using one of these more than anything to save your lungs rather than the chop saw, because that's obviously the most important thing. The high fences on the actual bed of the chop saw are again a welcome addition. If you're cutting, skirting or anything like that upright, you need something solid to rest it against. You don't want to be resting it against the low section because it's not going to be very stable. They are very good and really help. And also when you're cutting the mitres, it's fully accessible around to 60 degrees all the way around. However, if you want to change the bevel, you are quite limited because, as you can see, when the other fence is installed, like so, you do have a very tight area in which to work, so you cannot actually extend it over much without the blade actually compromising the fence. So to adjust the bevel angle, all you need to do is twist this black knob on the front, and then you can bend this over to exactly where you want it to be. The degrees are marked clearly on the back. All you need to do is get it to where you want it to be, give it a couple of twists, and then that locks it in position and you're good to go. It automatically stops at 45 degrees, but there is a handy little knob at the back here. Pull back in and then it will extend then over to 48 degrees, just to give you that little bit extra. Sometimes when you're doing a mitre on a skirt or anything like that, you might need to just twist it that little bit further just to get around any awkward spots. If you need to bevel over to the other side, there's a button on the side that you press, just hold that in and then it will twist over to this side as well. And the same, you can go to 48 degrees on that side as well. So onto the mitre angle, like I mentioned before, this can go around a full 60 degrees either way, which is awesome. It's because of, well, that you can put materials this way, it enables you to get some really good cuts, some things that you wouldn't be able to do on many chop saws. One thing I will say about this though is that since I've had it, I have had to take this all apart and clean it out because it does become quite stiff. I'll give you a little demonstration. You can see that I'm having to pull and push this quite a lot. This is always used with a dust extractor, but I think what happens is dust gets down here and where there's a nylon ring underneath, I believe that gets clogged with quite a bit of dust, and that does cause it to be quite frictioned. We've tried it with a bit of silicone in there, a bit of silicone lubricant, and it did really help, and it makes a really nice whirring noise as you spin it around, and it's really easy to do. But after a while, because this does get quite a lot of usage, this is the only one in our little site area that we've got here, so it does get quite a lot of use. It does become quite stiff, which is a little bit of a minor, but it's not the end of the world. You can see and just turn it like that. It's not awful, but it is a little bit of a minus point for me. It locks in at 0, 15, 22.5, 30, 31.6, 45 and 60 degrees. There's an automatic lock, so you can see I just push and it automatically locks in. There's also an override, so you just flick this little bit down here and then it will just slide all the way around. If you do want to stop at any point apart from the already notched ones that it automatically stops on, you can either push down this switch here or hold this down, get it to where you want it to be, and then simply lock it off again using this on the front, and then you're good to go. So now onto the main thing that you buy a chop saw for. It's for cutting wood. So like I mentioned before, Makita have said that they have a 382mm by 92mm cut at 90 degrees, which this is set at now. I believe that is wrong. I could be wrong, I could be misreading what they've said, but I do believe it can cut a lot more than what it says. This piece of timber here is 145mm from top to bottom. I will now demonstrate that this saw can easily cut this, and it is well over 92mm. So you can clearly see that I've just cut through this bit of timber quite easily, and like I said, that is more than 92 degrees. I feel that they should be promoting that they can do a much bigger cut than what it says. Maybe there's just an error, or maybe, like I say, I'm reading it wrong, but you can cut a lot bigger. One of the good features about this that I do like is when cutting skirting, you can cut it upright like this. We do use a lot of softwood, and it has a tendency to cup, unfortunately. So when you're using skirting, unlike MDF, which is nice and solid and stable, which doesn't cup, this sometimes can cup. When you're trying to cut a mitre, if you cut with a bevel at 45 degrees, because of how the saw actually contacts the piece, you do sometimes end up with a bit of a cut which goes something like this. Obviously that's massively exaggerated, but just as a bit of a demonstration, when the timber is cupped, because the blade touches the wood in the middle first, like that, it can just cut in and gives you a bit of a weird cut. So if you're able to cut like this and at an angle of 45 degrees, which I will demonstrate. So what that enables you to do is get a nice clean cut at your 45 degree. Obviously if the timber is really cupped, then there's still going to be a little bit of discrepancy, but this is just a nice way of making your life a little bit easier. So we've covered the depth of cut, we've covered doing mitre and bevel cuts. Next up I'm going to show you the little feature about doing a stop cut. So I'm not sure if that's correct terminology, but that's what I would call it. We're going to flick it round to 0 degrees. I'm going to move this out of the way. This is the stop point here. So basically what this does is enables you, rather than cutting all the way down like that, you can just flick this out to there and then adjust this screw here. And what that does is stop the blade at a certain depth. So if you're needing to channel out the back of some timber, or you need to do some sort of butt joint that you're going to do a cut on, or whatever reason, you don't want the blade to go all the way down, simple as just flick this straight over like that, and then it stops this from going through the hole, and then means you can just cut nice and easy straight through. Obviously this is a nice feature, it's really easy to adjust, straightforward, just simply flick that over and turn the screw, and that's it. So I do really like that feature. It makes life simple when you're doing stuff like this. It does have as well these extendable sections on the bed which come out to further prop your workpiece, just makes life a bit easier as well. It does also, like I mentioned, come with a clamp which sits in the back here and holds your workpiece down Personally, I've never used it because I do have this bench as well. This bench doesn't come with it. This is an extra, but again, because of the length of the arms, it can further support your workpiece while you're working. The blade that it comes with, like I've mentioned, is 305mm, and it's very sharp, very good. Makita blades are good. I haven't had to change it yet. You do have to install it yourself when you get it out of the box. It's pretty easy to do. You just unscrew this plate here, which flicks round, and then it means you can get into this Allen key right here, and you can just unscrew it, flick the blade out and change it over. I don't know how much these are to buy yet because I haven't had to replace this blade. Still plenty of life left in it, so I'm not sure if they're too expensive or not, but it's a great blade, so you shouldn't need to change this for quite a while. So another maybe negative, maybe not. I don't see it as a massive problem because I'm not moving this around all the time, but this machine is quite heavy. Because it's a bit of a beast, it's a big machine which can cut big timber. It's naturally going to be heavy. If you want something smaller to do, just skirting and architrave and whatever, then this probably isn't the machine for you. Using it on site, it's an absolute godsend. It's a great bit of kit, so I don't mind the extra weight transporting it around when you need to. But like I say, if you need something that's a bit more mobile, Makita do some smaller versions, which will probably be more suited to that. When you come to transport it, it easily folds away. Simply drop it down like that. And then there are two little bits that you twist around, which are really easy. One here, which locks the rail from sliding backwards and forwards. And then there's one around this side, which you simply pull out, twist, and then that locks in, and it locks the motor from going up and down as well. Then all you need to do is spin this round, put in your extended beds, and you're good to go. There's a nice handle on top that you can hold. You can just wrap the cable around the handle, and that is it. So overall, I would definitely recommend buying one of these chop saws. It's ideal for on site or in a workshop setting. There are a few little niggles that I have with it, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons on this one. If you're interested in buying one of these chop saws, check out the link in the description below, and that will take you straight through to a website where you can buy one. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a big thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel to help us keep bringing you great content. I've been John from Build with A&E. Until next time, take care.